Hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. It's been a second since the last post-game recap, or at least I think it has been. I think the last one was the All-Star game. But a couple games today, although none of them were too substantially good. Like, there weren't any crazy games today. So let me go to my notes. What I did want to say real quick, because I haven't promoted it anywhere else. A new episode of the podcast with Swishout, if you're a fan of him. So go check out that episode if you have not already. Anyways, so games I watched today. I only watched the fourth quarter of Grizzlies versus Nuggets. I watched Bulls versus Heat, obviously. I watched all Bulls games. Rockets versus Jazz and Lakers versus Pacers. I missed the first quarter of that game, but saw everything else. So let's talk about this fourth quarter of the Grizzlies-Nuggets game real quick. I wanted to watch this game initially, like full all the way through, but the podcast that we recorded with Noah Terranova, shout out to him, it bled on a little bit longer than we expected, so I had to not see most of this one. But the quarter actually opened with a bunch of hustle plays. There were players jumping all over the floor and shit. I just have a couple of notes here. This one was not too crazy, although it did have a controversial ending. Jokic might have the best touch that I have ever seen. Like, there's so many plays where he has the ball, and as long as he's able to get it up above his head before a defense can strip it from him, it's kind of at his mercy. Like, either the shot's going to go in or it's not. Like, the defense is doing nothing about it. Like, I think I saw a Rudy St. Clair editor on my main channel and the hot takes on this channel. He did something like, Jonas Valanciunas can't defend anybody. But, like, dude, you really cannot criticize anyone for not being able to defend Jokic, because the guy just simply makes every hook shot or floater or whatever that he takes unless you block it. Speaking of blocking it, Brandon Clark did block Jokic, who was on a pick and roll situation or a cut situation, caught the ball, went out for the layup to seal the game, but Clark was there to swat it away. Grizzlies get a chance to put this game away, or the free throws to, is it to tie it? I can't remember if it was to tie it or to take the lead. I'm pretty sure they were up one or down one to the Nuggets. Let me pull up the box score to confirm. Maybe it was to tie and to go into overtime. No. The Nuggets were up one. All right, I was right about that. So, John Morant drives to the basket. He had a rough game overall, but he drives to the basket. Jokic contests the shot. There's a debate to whether or not it was a foul. I'll be honest. I heard something on Twitter about, like, the fact that there was a whistle blown, but, like, it didn't amount to anything. I play games on silent. I don't listen to it. I'm, like, usually listening to music or something in the background while the games are on. So I didn't catch that. But regardless, like, whether or not that was a foul, I don't know. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I mean, there was contact, but was there contact enough to blow a whistle, especially in a late game situation where refs tend to be a little bit more not so happy to make calls? I can't really make a determination one way or the other. Either way, this is actually, you would think, a game between the Nuggets, really the Nuggets and Grizzlies, but especially the Nuggets, obviously. You wouldn't think it'd be like 103 to 102, because that's a really low scoring game for today's NBA. But it was. So a lot of defensive stuff in this game that you wouldn't typically expect. But the shout out to the Nuggets, by the way. I believe they're on a pretty sizable win streak, unless they lost very recently and I look like an idiot, but let me pull it up. The Nuggets have won 5 in a row, so I wasn't an idiot. So good for the Nuggets. The Grizzlies take an L there, but yeah, that's all I really have to say about that one. I should say Dylan Brooks, he is a really either on or off player. He was on today. He hit one mid-range shot drifting in the lane that was very impressive. So Bulls versus Heat, I actually had the second least notes of this game of any of them, because I'm getting to the point where I've talked about the Bulls so much on this channel and talked about their positives and negatives to the point where I don't really have much to say anymore. Just wrote down once more, I am tired of Kobe White. This was another bad Kobe White game. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it. I don't see a star player when I look at Kobe White. I see a guy who has the pieces to be a star, but I'm not seeing it putting them together. And it's frustrating because every time he plays and he has a good game, it's not like he improved. It's just the shots are going in today. Like, he's not making improvements to his game. It's just today it's working. But then the next 3 games it's not going to. But I've talked about Kobe White enough. This is an ugly game, especially in the first half. I believe it was like 40-40 or something like that, roughly in the first half. Both teams could not make a damn shot. I think the Heat went on like an 0 for 14 or like 1 for 14 streak at one point in the second quarter, or maybe start of the first to second quarter, but or end of the first to start. You know what I mean? But the Bulls were not able to match. Well, they were able to match being as bad. I mean, like they didn't take advantage of the fact that the Heat were not making any fucking shots. There was a couple of possessions in a row where just both teams were horrible shot, horrible threes, like air balls, barely hitting the front of the rim. Some positive Kobe stuff here. I did mention he did make a very good read where he would typically, speaking of improvement, like shoot the ball. He had a little sidestep thing where his defender fell down and he was open. It wouldn't have been a bad shot if he took it, but there was an even better shot with Lauri Markkanen cutting to the lane because his defender got a little confused by the other defender falling down, and he was going to go and close out on Kobe, and Kobe made the quick decision to pass it to Lauri, who made the layup. So that was a very good read on his part, and he made another really nice pass in the lane. So his playmaking, I think, has gotten better to his credit, but still not great, and not a point guard, and tired of him. Also, frustrating thing here, it's not like I expected anything different, but Markkanen had Duncan Robinson guarding him for like a good chunk of this game. Like I'd say he was on him probably like 40% of the time Markkanen was on the floor, and just didn't take advantage of it at all. Like you'd think a 7-footer on like a 6'7" guy would try and take advantage of it, but that's not Lauri Markkanen. He doesn't really have a post game, and he doesn't have the aggressiveness to do something like that. He had one play where he fronted him, but yeah. But this game, funny exchange on Twitter. By funny, it means me taking an L, essentially. I was freaking out because Goran Dragic had like 20-something in the fourth quarter, which couldn't miss. Deep three-pointers, it wasn't even that many layups. It was just all jump shots dropping for him. And I just tweeted, fuck Goran Dragic. I don't actually dislike Goran Dragic. I was just mad that he was beating up on my team. But then some Heat Twitter account quote tweeted me and was like, ratioed by whatever. It was just a photo of Dragic. And I was like, dude, I'm already down bad. You don't have to fucking do that to me. And his account with like 70K followers, so I got ratioed pretty fucking hard. But yeah, anyways, that was Bulls versus Heat. 2 L's on my part for that one. Lakers versus Pacers. I had very little notes about this one. Wes Matthews is like the only thing that's oriented specifically to this game. Wesley Matthews threw a pass between LeBron's legs. That doesn't mean anything. I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to point it out. Kyle Kuzma was awesome in this game. This is one of his better games, probably maybe his best game of the season. I could very easily be forgetting something. But let me look at the box score. I know he had like 20 and 10 or somewhere in that ballpark. He had a really nice skip pass from LeBron to the corner for a 3. Yeah, he had 24 and 13 on 8 for 18 shooting, 3 for 6 from 3. Very good game from Kyle Kuzma. He had a couple of nice drives. Good for him. LeBron passive in this one, 18 points, 5 for 13 from the field. Like, he's shooting less shots than Kyle Kuzma. That shows you how passive he's being, but it didn't matter because the Lakers obviously ultimately won this one. And this is despite the fact that Brogdon and Sabonis had really good games. Also, Justin Holiday, who I was informed by Pacers fans has been amazing for them this year. He had a really rough game, 1 for 10 from 3. I knew he was good, but like when I did a trade package video where I didn't even really believe in the trade that much, it was just something to fill the void. It was a bunch of Pacers fans were like, no, actually, he's been awesome. Like, I didn't really notice that. Anyways, yeah, this wasn't too much. Sabonis played really well, nearly had a triple-double, had a layup down the stretch after losing the ball a bit. But it was just a bog standard game, and the Lakers won this one. But this video, I want to primarily focus on Kevin Porter Jr. of the Houston Rockets. So the title of this video is The Houston Rockets Have a Bright Future. So let me pull up the box score. I don't think he quite reached 30. Kevin Porter. So he finished with 27 and 8 on 11 for 25 shooting. Now, the one big negative from this one is that he was not hitting his threes, 1 for 9. But what was really noteworthy, you notice the 8 assists. I have to imagine that is a career high. I can't think of any other. I can't imagine it's anything else. But it was particularly like being a pick and roll ball handler, just a ball handler, period. Kevin has already displayed an ability to create space for himself, a good handle. His jump shot, there's questions about it, as you see from the 1 for 9 from three in this one, but he does have the ability to create the space, and he is a large guard, and he has a lot of upside on both ends of the court. So you'd hope he'd be able to put it together. But he had, he's up and down. He has a lot of, but he's like one of those guys like he has the potential. Is he going to put it together? Well, according to my friend Zay, who is a Kevin Porter Jr. stan, the guy did very well in the G League. I knew, or is it? Yeah, G League. I almost flipped it with D League. God, does that make me old at this point? Kevin was he was getting more pick and roll and ball handling opportunities in the G League. I think he averaged like 25 and 8 in the G League, something like that. So when he comes in for Houston, now that he's finally back called up to the roster, he is given the opportunity to be the lead ball handler because his team also had a bunch of injuries. Eric Gordon didn't play. Victor Oladipo didn't play. John Wall did not play. So, like, who is dribbling the ball on this team? Kevin Porter. So he has an awesome game. He had a couple of pull-up mid-range shots. He had a lot of really nice drives. He got to the free throw line a little bit. Nothing crazy, but 4 for 6. His playmaking was awesome. He had multiple nice passes out of the pick and roll. He had this one behind the back pass to Jayshawn Tate, who took the drive and just whiffed the layup, but it should have been another assist to get him to 9. But just a whole bunch of really nice passes. He had one thing on the baseline where he did a really nice dribble move and then dished it off to Justin Patton, which is a name I have not heard in a while. I remember back in the day I was very frustrated that the Bulls traded the lottery pick that was used to draft him in the Jimmy Butler trade. Obviously didn't end up mattering because Patton's not that good. He did have a good game here though, but very late arrival if he does end up being a good player. But yeah, this is actually also, I do want to shout out I believe it's Kenyon Martin Jr. Yeah, he had a great game for them off of the bench, 15 and 10. He was not making his shots, but he was making a lot of hustle plays, which is actually very reminiscent of his father. So rebounding as well. So he played very well in this one. David Nwaba was good, but overall, of course, the Rockets not that great. With all the injuries they have, there's a lot of like G League talents playing in these games, and that's obviously not going to be helpful for winning, especially when you're playing against the best record in the league, Utah Jazz. I will say the Jazz in this one, this was definitely a case of playing down a competition because while they did win this one, it was not in the most convincing fashion. In fact, in the fourth quarter, the Rockets made a run where they got it to like 8 points or even 6 points at one point. But obviously the better team ended up prevailing. They really turned it up in the fourth quarter after falling asleep at the start of the fourth quarter. But just a case of playing down to your competition. It's fine. But Kevin Porter, and we need to talk about the Rockets in general, especially with the title of this one. Kevin Porter, I want to check these notes actually to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, he also had an insane reverse layup that I was like, I jumped out of my seat when I saw that one. But yeah, I think that's all I had to say. But Kevin Porter, I think that guy has star potential. I don't think that's controversial to say. A really big guard, like he's not tall, but he's well built. Pretty sure he has a decent wingspan. He's really athletic. He is good at defense, not as good as you like, but he's still good. And then ball handling, space creating for himself, that's a thing. It's really just a matter of, is the playmaking he displayed today something that's going to be consistent? And is the jump shot going to really be a thing? Because, he had the confidence to take 9 threes today, but you'd like more than one of them to go in. His mid-range shot looked pretty good in this game. I don't know what the exact numbers on that were, but he had a couple of those shots that were clean. But what's really important is he's one of these guys that exudes confidence. He believes that he can be this guy, and I think he has the tools to be that guy, and I think he will be said guy. But he add Kevin Porter, then you mix in Christian Wood into this. Like, he's awesome. I think they're like 0-15 without Christian Wood on the team, which shows how impactful he is. They were winning games with him, and obviously not winning games without him. So Christian Wood, just really good. Nice rhyme there. KPJ, really good. In terms of the actual other young talent on this team, there's nothing all that substantial unless there's a name I'm whiffing. I think Jayshawn Tate can be pretty good. But on top of Christian Wood, KPJ, you have multiple first round picks from the James Harden trade. Now, unfortunately, you don't really have your own picks from the Russell Westbrook trade, although I think there are some protections on those that they could potentially land a high pick on just as long as the lottery works in their favor. But it is unfortunate that that's not the situation. But regardless, they have enough first round picks to make shit happen. That's for damn sure. They have the assets, they have the talent, the young talent. Victor Oladipo, I would try and swap for something because he has not been great for the Rockets. That might be an understatement depending on who you ask. And yeah, just I really like Kevin Porter Jr. I really like his pairing with Christian Wood, especially if his playmaking is going to be a thing, especially if him being a great pick and roll ball handler is going to be a thing, because Christian Wood is one of the best pick and roll players in the league. So it's a match made in heaven. The Rockets are doing well as you can be after trading one of the very minimum top 5 offensive players of all time, and he's probably higher than that, but I'm just trying not to piss anybody off. So yeah, shout out to the Houston Rockets for doing a good job not being abysmal in the post. Well, they're still losing, but like their future being abysmal in the post Harden era. But yeah, that's all I really had to say today. Again, go check out that podcast if you had not already. My voice is disappearing from me right as I'm trying to do the outro. But yeah, that's it. Bye.